There's a secret war happening inside you right now. It's been going on for years, maybe your whole life, and most people don't even know it's happening. On one side, there's the real you, the person you were born to be, the one with dreams, opinions, and a voice that wants to speak up. On the other side, there's the fake you, the one other people created, the one that always says yes, never causes problems, and keeps everyone else happy. Here's what nobody tells you. One of these versions of you has to win. And if you don't choose which one, someone else will choose for you. Carl Jung was a famous mind doctor who studied people for decades. He discovered something shocking. He found that most people spend their whole lives being someone else. They wear what he called a mask. Jung called this mask your persona. It's the fake face you show the world to keep people happy. But here's the twist that changes everything. Jung said that becoming who you really are means you have to disappoint other people. You have to take off the mask. And when you do, some people will get very angry. Why? Because they like the fake you better. The fake you was easier to control. If you've ever been called selfish for simply wanting to make your own choices, this video is your mirror. If you've ever felt that tight feeling in your chest when someone gets mad at you for saying no, keep watching. Because what I'm about to tell you will change how you see every relationship in your life. The mind trick most people don't see is this. When you start being real, the people around you will test you. They'll try to make you feel guilty. They'll act hurt. They'll say you've changed. And here's the part that will blow your mind. This is not about you being mean. This is about them losing control. Another brilliant thinker named Machiavelli wrote a famous book called The Prince over 500 years ago. He warned us about something important. He said that being too nice makes you a target. When you always put others first, you teach them that your needs don't matter. But wait, there's more to this story that nobody talks about. A mind doctor named Donald Winnicott discovered that we all have two selves, the real you and the fake you. The real you knows what you want and how you feel. The fake you just tries to keep everyone else happy. Winnicott found that when people live as the fake version too long, they start to feel empty inside. Does this sound familiar? Have you ever felt like you're acting in a play, but you forgot you were acting? Here's where it gets really interesting. Another expert named Melanie Klein studied how we learn to connect with people when we're babies. She found that some of us learned a dangerous lesson very early. We learned that love comes with conditions. We learned that we have to be perfect to be loved. So we built an emotional protection response. We created the fake version of ourselves to stay safe. But here's the problem nobody warns you about. The fake you is like a prison, and the longer you stay in it, the harder it gets to remember who you really are. Jung called this process individuation. That's a fancy word that means becoming who you really are. But here's what Jung discovered that will shock you. Most people are terrified of individuation. They're scared of being real because they think everyone will leave them. But Jung found something even more surprising. The people who get angry when you become real, they were never really your people anyway. They were just people who liked having control over you. If you're still watching this, you might be thinking, but what if I hurt people's feelings? Here's your permission statement. You are not responsible for fixing what others won't face about themselves. Your freedom is not being mean. It is your right. Machiavelli taught us something that sounds harsh but is actually kind. He said that sometimes you have to choose yourself over pleasing others, not because you want to hurt people, but because staying fake hurts everyone, including you. Here's the mind-blowing part. When you live as the fake you, you're actually lying to everyone around you. You're showing them a person who doesn't exist. How is that helping anyone? Jung discovered that we all have what he called a shadow self. These are the parts of you that you hide, the parts you think are bad or wrong. But Jung found that hiding these parts makes you weak. When you accept all of yourself, even the parts you don't like, you become powerful. And here's where the story gets really good. Jung said that the collective unconscious connects all humans. That's a fancy way of saying we all share the same deep feelings. The loneliness you feel when you're being fake, everyone feels that. The fear of being rejected for being real, everyone has that fear too. This means you're not alone in this war between your real and fake self. Millions of people are fighting the same battle right now. But here's what changes everything. Once you understand this psychological framework, you can't not see it. You start to notice when people are wearing masks. You start to see when someone is trying to control you by making you feel guilty. You become a mind detective. Machiavelli warned us that people will use manipulation to control others. They'll make you feel bad for having boundaries. They'll act like victims when you say no. They'll tell you that you're being selfish when you're just being honest. Here's your next permission statement. You have the right to disappoint people who want you to stay small. You didn't come into the world to be everyone's emotional support. Now, some of you might be feeling scared right now. You might be thinking, but what if everyone leaves me? Here's what Jung and Machiavelli both understood. The people who leave you for being real were never really there for you anyway. They were there for the fake version. But the people who stay, the ones who love you for being real, those are your real people. And Jung discovered something beautiful. When you become real, you attract other real people. When you take off your mask, you give others permission to take off theirs too. Here's the awareness upgrade that changes everything. Every time someone gets angry at you for being authentic, they're telling you something important about themselves. They're showing you that they preferred the fake version because it was easier to control. This is not your fault. This is not about you being difficult. This is about them having to face the fact that you're a real person with real needs and real feelings. Melanie Klein found that some people learn to see others as objects instead of people. They learn to use relationships to feel better about themselves. When you start being real, you stop being their emotional support object, and that scares them. But here's your guilt relief statement. That guilt you feel when you disappoint someone, it's not even yours. Someone else put it there. They trained you to feel bad when you don't make them happy. But feelings aren't facts. Just because you feel guilty doesn't mean you did something wrong. Jung said something that will blow your mind. He said that your main job in life is not to make other people comfortable. Your main job is to become who you really are. He called this your life's work. Machiavelli understood something about human nature that most people don't want to hear. He said that people will take advantage of your kindness if you let them. Not because they're evil, but because humans naturally push boundaries. When you have no boundaries, you teach people to walk all over you. Here's where both Jung and Machiavelli agreed on something important. They both said that you have to be strategic about relationships. You have to choose carefully who gets access to the real you. Not everyone deserves that gift. Some of you might be thinking, this sounds cold. But here's what both these wise men understood. When you give everyone access to everything, you have nothing left for the people who really matter. When you say yes to everyone, your yes means nothing. Here's your permission statement that changes everything. You are not imagining this. There's a brain reason it feels so extreme when you start being real. Your mind has been running on an old emotional blueprint. One that says love comes with conditions, but that blueprint is broken. Jung discovered that we all have both masculine and feminine energy inside us. He called these your anima and animus. That's just a fancy way of saying you have both gentle and strong parts. The fake you only shows the parts that make others comfortable. The real you shows all parts. When you start showing your strong parts, people who like the gentle fake version will complain. When you start showing your gentle parts, People who like the strong fake version will complain. Here's the truth nobody tells you. You can't win this game, so stop playing it. Machiavelli taught us about strategic thinking and human connections. He said you have to study people's actions, not just their words. When someone says they love you but gets angry when you have needs, believe their actions. When someone says they support you but tries to make you feel guilty for changing, believe their actions. Here's the plot twist that explains everything. The people who get the most upset when you become real are usually the ones who are still living as their fake selves. Your authenticity reminds them of what they're not brave enough to do, so they try to pull you back down to make themselves feel better. Jung called this projection. That's when you see your own stuff in other people. When someone calls you selfish for having boundaries, they're really talking about themselves. They're afraid of being seen as selfish, so they point at you instead. Here's your identity validation statement. You are not responsible for other people's projections. You are not responsible for their fear of being real. You are only responsible for your own journey to authenticity. Now here's where the story gets really powerful. Jung found that when you stop trying to please everyone, something magical happens. You start to attract people who actually like the real you. You start to build what he called genuine connections. Machiavelli understood that relationships built on fear and control don't last, but relationships built on mutual respect and authenticity do. When you're real, you give others permission to be real too. This creates something beautiful, real community. But here's what nobody warns you about. The journey from fake to real is not easy. Your mind will try to trick you. It will tell you that you're being mean. It will make you feel guilty. It will try to convince you to go back to the fake version because it feels safer. Jung called this resistance. Your mind wants to protect you from rejection. So it will fight against authenticity because authenticity feels dangerous. But here's what Jung discovered. The only real danger is staying fake forever. Here's your permission statement for the hard days. Your feelings are not facts. Just because change feels scary doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because someone is upset doesn't mean you did something bad. Just because someone calls you difficult doesn't mean you are. Melanie Klein found that some people learn to make others responsible for their emotion. They learn to blame other people when they feel bad. When you start having boundaries, these people will try to make you responsible for how they feel. But here's your truth. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You are not their emotional support person. You are not their free therapist. You are not their mood regulator. You are a whole person with your own needs and feelings. Jung said that becoming real is like mental surgery. You have to cut away the parts that aren't really you. This process hurts sometimes, but staying fake hurts more, and it hurts for longer. Here's what both Jung and Machiavelli understood about human nature. People will test your boundaries. They will push to see if you really mean what you say. When you first start being real, they will try extra hard to get you to go back to being fake. This is normal. This is expected. This is not a reason to give up. Machiavelli taught us that consistency is power. When you consistently show people who you really are, they learn to accept it. But if you keep switching between real and fake, you teach them that your boundaries don't matter. Here's your empowerment declaration. You have the right to change. You have the right to grow. You have the right to become who you were always meant to be. Anyone who has a problem with your growth is telling you something important about themselves. Jung discovered something that will blow your mind. He found that the people who judge you the most for being authentic are usually the ones who are most afraid of their own authenticity. They're not really mad at you. They're mad at themselves for not being brave enough to be real. Here's where everything starts to make sense. That uncomfortable feeling you get when you start being real, that's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. That's a sign that you're doing something right. You're upgrading your emotional operating system. And upgrades always feel weird at first. Machiavelli warned us that change always creates enemies. Not because you're hurting people, but because your change forces them to look at their own lives. Some people don't want to look, so they try to stop you from changing instead. But here's what history teaches us. Every person who ever became great had to disappoint people who wanted them to stay small. Every person who ever made a difference had to choose themselves over other people's comfort. You are not different. You are not special in a bad way. You are just human, and humans are meant to grow. Humans are meant to become real. Humans are meant to individuate, as Jung would say. Here's your final permission statement. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to outgrow relationships. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself that no longer serve you. Growth is not betrayal. Growth is life. Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are, not who your parents wanted you to be, not who your friends expect you to be, not who society tells you to be, who you actually are. Machiavelli understood that this choice to be real is also a choice to be free. But freedom always comes with a price. The price is that some people won't like it. The price is that some relationships will change. The price is that you'll have to feel uncomfortable sometimes. But here's what both these wise men knew. The price of staying fake is higher. The price of staying fake is losing yourself completely. The price of staying fake is never knowing what real love feels like. The price of staying fake is living someone else's life instead of your own. So here's your choice. You can keep fighting the war between your real and fake self. You can keep trying to please everyone while slowly losing yourself. Or you can choose a side. You can choose to be real. If you choose to be real, some people will be upset. Some relationships will change. Some people might even leave. But the people who stay will love you for who you actually are. And you'll finally get to meet the real you. The war between who you are and who they made you be doesn't have to last forever. You get to choose the winner. And if you're brave enough to choose yourself, everything changes. If this video helped you see your own story more clearly, let me know in the comments by writing, "I choose to be real." If you're ready to learn more about becoming who you were always meant to be, subscribe for more insights that will help you win the war for your authentic self. The real you is worth fighting for. The real you has been waiting your whole life for this moment. The moment when you finally choose yourself. What will you choose?